The YouTube recommended page is a strange thing. If you're anything like me, you will see many different things on the recommended page. Things you hadn't seen before but may come to enjoy. Things you may not understand. And things that may disturb you. The channel I'm going to be discussing is all three of these things. Vivinos is a relatively new horror channel. I say relatively new because the channel itself has been around since around 2015. But I can't find any record whether or not Vivinos was uploading back then, but whether or not they did is irrelevant to this video. From what I can tell, Vivinos is a Korean animation channel that usually uploads small animations for segments of songs, until about 4 months ago. 4 months ago, Vivinos started to upload horror-themed music videos to their channel. Small animated music videos that are always narrative-focused and always seem to go over some disturbing and dark themes and topics. As of right now, the 1st of June 2021, the channel has uploaded 5 horror-themed / disturbing music videos. As some of the artwork in these works are quite abstract, people in the comments of these videos are seemingly always attempting to decipher the meanings behind each of the music videos. So, I'll give my interpretations on 4 out of the 5 music videos that are presently out. First of all, this goes without saying. Please watch the videos on your own first. I'll put a link up now in the top right of the screen, as well as a link in the description now. That'll take you to a playlist that'll let you go watch all 5 of the music videos first. This video is not a replacement for the music videos done by Vivinos. They're an analysis. I highly suggest that you click off the video now and go watch the videos yourself first, because I feel your first viewings of these music videos will lose a lot of their punch and a lot of their effect if your first viewing of them and your first experience with them is through an analytical lens, through my video. So I highly suggest go and watch them now on your own and come back, please. So go watch them, come back, so we can see if our interpretations of these music videos are the same. Okay, cool. Let's start with the oldest music video of the 5, SUKI SUKI DAISUKI. Video number 1, SUKI SUKI DAISUKI. The music for this animation was not made for the music video itself. It was a pre-existing song that Vivinos decided to make a video about. The song itself was sung by Jun Togawa, and the song was made all the way back in 1985, and this helps lend to the video's old school aesthetic. All of the horror music videos I will be discussing do this. They are in a 4:3 aspect ratio, and it seems like there's a filter on top, or it's been color graded to make it look more retro, which I like. Now, to the actual music video itself. SUKI SUKI DAISUKI is the shortest of the 5, clocking around at about 1 minute and 40 seconds. But in that time, it manages to present the audience with a clear and cohesive narrative. There are only 3 characters in the story, so for brevity's sake, I'll give them quick nicknames so it's easier to understand what I'm saying. We will call this character Senpai, because in the background of this shot, you've got signs saying "We love Senpai." Naming makes sense. This girl we'll call Blonde, as she has no other big characteristics that make her stick out. And finally, we will call this girl the Yandere, for obvious reasons, as I'm about to explain. The plot of this video follows the journey of the Yandere attempting to gain love from a senpai. But, as is the case with most yanderes in fiction, the love is unrequited. This is reinforced with lyrics such as "I'll kill you if you don't say I love you." On her journey, the yandere discovers that Blonde is gaining more of senpai's attention, causing her to get angry, of course, which is something yanderes usually tend to do. But this culminates in the yandere finding Blonde all alone, proceeding to murder her, and then taking her face to wear as her own, revealing the person who had been singing the song during the performance parts of the video are actually the yandere wearing her new face. And as the video proceeds, we see that the yandere's plan was successful. She's now gained the attention of her senpai and is now the apple of her eye. The main debate I see about the interpretation of this song, whether or not the yandere is literally taking Blonde's face, or is instead merely just mimicking her mannerisms and look so that she can get senpai's attention. We know for a fact that Blonde is dead. The body beneath the bed, the body in the hallway during the intro shot. There is constant imagery alluding to this. The only wiggle room for the audience and interpretation is whether or not the yandere literally took Blonde's face. I choose to believe the more literal interpretation of this video. What's creepier? Interpretation number 1. A crime of passion so that a random girl can get closer to her crush. Or interpretation 2, a crime of passion that involves someone grafting another's face onto their own so that they can become closer to the one they love with someone else's face. It's quite reminiscent of Batman's Hush, but I digress. Whilst I prefer this interpretation, there is contradicting imagery for this. It suggested that the face stealing was more metaphorical, as we see this shot of who we can assume to be the remnants of Blonde, her body parts adorning these plates. Creepy imagery, of course, but this contradicts with the ending shot of the faceless Blonde underneath Yandere's bed during the ending shot of the video. The only thing missing is her face. She doesn't appear to be missing her ears, heart or hands, which were previously seen on the top of the plate earlier, suggesting that the face stealing is more metaphorical than literal. Though I do still prefer the more literal reading of the video, as I find it to be more creepy. So I side with the more metaphorical reading of the video, as there is more evidence, but I find the literal meaning cooler. Next music video. Number 2, My September. This song has a much less upbeat tone. Unlike the last video, whilst DAISUKI was more disturbing, it had a very upbeat song accompanying it. Granted, the lyrics were much more dark, but there is a juxtaposition there. With My September, the background music is much more macabre, and this is reflected much more in the visuals. My September follows a girl after the death of someone close to her. We'll call this girl Glasses for obvious reasons. It seems that the spirit of the person she was mourning appears to be both following and interacting with her. We'll call the spirit girl Roku for reasons I'll explain later. We then flash back to before Roku's death, in which we see Glasses seemingly having a crush, which is then met by disgust and overall distaste. This is then highlighted due to the fact that shortly after this ocular exchange, a flower is left on Glasses' desk. In some countries, typically Eastern ones, it is customary to leave a flower on a student's desk if they die. However, if a flower is placed on someone's desk whilst they are still alive, it means that people think that you're better off dead. It's the equivalent of saying, go kill yourself. It's implied that this simple exchange of looks between the two characters is what led to this, and as a result, Glasses grew angry and sought revenge, leading to her choking and murdering Roku. It then shows Roku's shadow that has been following Glasses since her murder, proceeding to then get her own revenge by choking and killing Glasses during sex. The final shot of this video is a lowered mid shot of what we can assume to be Glasses' corpse being watched by Roku. This part of the video is what is mostly up for interpretation. Yet again, whether or not it's literal. Did Glasses kill herself from the guilt of murdering the person she wanted to be closer to? Or was it Roku's spirit gaining revenge for what she believed was an unjust death? Also, the reason I have been referring to this character as Roku is due to the fact that over the course of the video, her appearance degrades and becomes much more akin to the crooked man of all things, or the old Japanese yokai Roku Rokubi, or pulley neck. The similarities between the yokai and the short are merely cosmetic, as the yokai is more of a trickster and less vengeful, but I still thought the comparison of the two was justifiable. Personally, my interpretation of the video is as such. Glasses murders Roku out of a confused sense of revenge due to the bullying she received. The flower. Also, the flower itself isn't too detailed, so I can't really tell if the specific flower has any meaning to it. Usually, most white flowers have the meaning of purity, innocence, as well as mourning for funerals. You traditionally give white flowers for funerals. If I could find out what specific flower it was, there may be a deeper meaning to it. But from what I can tell, the meaning is simply, in Eastern countries, Japan, Korea, etc., white flowers signify death. In the West, their meaning is a bit more contentious, but I've been talking about this one shot for too long, so long story short, the flower may have a deeper meaning if we knew the specific type of flower, but in more Eastern countries, white flowers always connote death. Due to the bullying Glasses received, she sought revenge on the one she loved, causing some conflicted emotions. So when Roku's spirit shows up, she then falls in love with it, but as Roku is also now seeking revenge, Roku hangs Glasses, or at least makes it look like she hung herself. My interpretation is that the spirit killed her, more so than her committing suicide, because there doesn't seem to be much guilt shown throughout the video. Number 3. Magical Girl RURU. Magical Girl RURU is a subversion of the Majo Shoujo genre. It does so very similarly to Magical Girl Sight, which is a pretty interesting read, by the way, especially if you grew up watching stuff like Sailor Moon and things of a similar ilk. It's a good read, I would highly suggest it, but it's not as entertaining to watch. I digress. The short itself shows a girl, let's call her Blue for obvious reasons, becoming a magical girl and dealing with the strife of that, as well as the strife and struggle of everyday life. When she realises that by becoming a magical girl, she is literally killing all of the monsters around her to protect the people around her, and then she snaps and kills all the people around her. Earlier in the short, she is seen being one-upped by her friend and is shown to be not very good at much and constantly being clumsy and making mistakes. Also again leading her to snap and causing her to kill her friends as well as everyone around her. This is literally shown through the characters literally becoming angels. We just see her kill everything around her as this cheery music plays in the background pretty much. There's only one thing up for interpretation in this video yet again. Is it real? Is she really a magical girl who's just snapped? Or is it merely all an illusion? Quite similarly to School Live, which is also a good read. There is evidence for both sides. Firstly, the evidence for the side that it's all real. We see this creature, this small green creature, probably the creature that gave her powers. We see this creature in scenes with both Blue and her friend. We also see Blue kill monsters and then afterwards kill her friend. Granted, the monster could also be an illusion or something else. But the ending shot of the short suggests that it isn't an illusion, as it shows us a pile of bodies filled with both people and creatures Blue has killed. School children, as well as at least one octopus. So she may have been killing one thing besides her friends. There isn't a lot of evidence for this interpretation. There is a bit more evidence for the illusion interpretation. The most notable piece of evidence is that throughout the shot we keep getting random in-between frames of Blue with her eyes wide open, appearing manic throughout the duration of the shot, suggesting she is insane, and perhaps that this is all an illusion. In my opinion, it seems that she is disassociating from the real world, that it is all an illusion, caused by the stress of being one-upped by her friend, as well as the stresses of her parents and teachers, etc. The main reason I prefer this interpretation is due to the fact that, for some reason, it appears that the singer from SUKI DAISUKI becomes an angel, whilst Blue is massacring the people around her. Characters become angels, pretty obviously implying that they're dead, but for some reason, one of the people that becomes an angel is the singer/yandere from Daisuki, or she at least appears to be the same character. As shown during Daisuki, yandere had become an idol of some sort, meaning that she may have become famous as a result, which may mean in Blue's version of heaven she sees an idol she was fond of. This may be a bit of a stretch, but despite that fact, I still feel like the magical girl aspect is an illusion created by the girl, as she uses this figment of her imagination to justify hurting small animals and the people around her. I believe that this specific creature that she is attacking is probably a couple of stray cats or dogs, and she justifies that by defining them as monsters and then perceiving them as such. The reason I believe this is simply due to the fact that the creature, appearing to be some sort of yokai, has children around it, as well as the fact that they quickly become a massive viscera instead of fading away like ghosts and monsters traditionally do in this sort of stuff. So my interpretation personally is that I believe it's all an illusion. Number 4. Beloved. The final short I'll be taking a look at is Beloved. Quite aptly enough, it's a love story about two girls. The story itself starts off as a flashback from one of the girls, now an adult, sadly reflecting on her past love. The majority of the video takes the form of a heartwarming story about two girls. We'll name these two girls Trip and Partner. We see Trip slowly getting a crush on Partner over time, and then begins to notice that Partner is being abused. Maybe by a teacher or bullies. It's possible to be either, because there isn't evidence for either. It could be either, it could be both, but it doesn't really matter which one. Then we see Partner eventually reciprocate the love and kiss Trip in the nurse's office. However, this is seemingly noticed by a passerby and is spread around the school, as seen in these hidden in-between frames during this section of the video. This all culminates in Partner seemingly jumping off the roof out of pure sadness, out of being abused, due to her and Trip being outed as being together. Then we flash forward back to Trip, an old woman now, crying at the thought and the memory of her love, falling to her death, also possibly feeling guilt. If they never fell in love, they wouldn't have kissed and been seen, leading to the increased amount of abuse, etc, etc. The main two opposing interpretations of this one are actually still quite heavily debated in the comments of these videos. Partner committed suicide due to the increased amount of abuse because of the rumours being spread about tripping her, or she was killed and pushed off the roof, also due to the increased amount of bullying and abuse due to her relationship being outed. Let's go over the evidence for both, as it is easy to believe either interpretation, as there isn't a ridiculous amount of evidence for either side of the argument. The suicide interpretation. The largest and most blatant piece of evidence for this interpretation is during the intro of the video, where there is a disclaimer saying that the video contains depiction of suicide, as well as other things, which could still be debatable, but for this side of the argument, let's say that it's gospel, and we can count it as evidence. Besides this, the facts that we get from the video can be used to debate either side for either interpretation as evidence. We know that she was being abused before the relationship was outed, and we know that the abuse probably increased after this, due to partner's face being bruised and bloody while she is falling. Granted, this could also mean she was attacked and then thrown off the roof. This very much reminds me of a Korean movie that goes over a lot of similar topics and themes, King of Pigs. I would highly suggest it. Anyway, I digress. As we don't see the abuse post-outing of the relationship, we can't determine whether or not partner received the wounds on her face seen while she is falling. We can't determine how she got them or when she got them. Or we can't determine whether or not they were given to her while she was on the roof or before. We can't determine when or how partner received the wounds on her face. We can't say whether or not she was beaten and got them just before she was thrown off the roof. And we can't determine whether or not she was given them and then wanted to commit suicide as a result of them. If you discount the disclaimer from the intro, all the evidence we see for one side can be spun in the evidence for the other. But discounting that evidence doesn't make much sense. As a result, I side with the reading of the short that has more evidence. So my interpretation is that partner committed suicide due to the abuse and probably received the marks on her face that led to her death from an abuser, not a murderer who pushed her off. Vivinos has posted a few times on YouTube about upcoming music videos, and I feel like this channel will probably grow much larger than their current audience, which is already quite large, which surprises me. Despite these impressive view counts, not more people are talking about this channel. I mean, they're getting high views, and they're verified, so I'm just shocked. I refrained from talking about Vivinos' latest video, Jordan River, as I wanted something for you to dissect and enjoy yourself. Because I know, despite the fact I told you profusely to watch the music videos yourself before finishing this video, I know some of you didn't. And I wanted to give you the chance to watch something made by Vivinos for the first time yourself. There isn't me dissecting it and me looking at it in an analytical way. So I'll put it in the top right now and put it in the description. So yeah, that's the video. It goes without saying that you've heard these words 100 times, if not 1,000 times before. Like, comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. I don't typically make videos like this, but if it goes well, maybe you'll find another channel to talk about, or another creepy topic to talk about. With that being said, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out Vivinos' channel and all their videos, or at least the horror-centric ones, if you're not a fan of the others. And yeah, toodles my doodles. Peace.